Yeah, hey Matt, how are you?
Good.
I think you guys are going to end up playing like, what is it, five straight road games or something like that? What does that mean for
Yeah,
your season, I guess?
I think
That's
it's
obviously
four,
very four.
wasn't it
Yeah,
four? Four?
four. Yeah, my fault.
You embellish, Ryan. You embellish. I embellish sometimes.
That's what I do.
You embellish. Okay.
I'm here for the
Uh,
hyperbole.
it's not a whole lot you can do. When you look at your schedule, everybody's going to have a tough stretch at some point. Some a little bit, maybe a little bit harder than others because you can't predict, the timing of injuries or, somebody out because of COVID or, whatever. There's just a lot of factors that go into it. So we all knew that, when things are just in a regular season, you're going to have a stretch or two that's pretty difficult for you. And now, obviously, this was one of those for us where we had 4 out of 5 road games, and now we're going to have 4 straight road games because, we didn't play Nebraska, and we got to, schedule that at another time. So, but it's part of it. You got to be able to roll with it. We're fortunate that we're able to play.
So what you saw from Michigan State against Rutgers, did they turn a corner, you think, for that game?
But they definitely, played their best defensive game of the year. And, obviously we know, Rutgers has a lot of weapons, have a lot of guys that can, make one-on-one plays. They have good size. They have good athleticism. Ron Harper Jr., Geo Baker, Young, McKay, Mathis. McKay and Mathis were a big part of our game, with Ron Harper Jr. being out. And they just kind of just shut those guys down, made it hard. Ron Harper had 13, and Michigan State was great. They were great on the ball. They were great away from the basketball, and looked like Michigan State defense to me.
How has Hauser kind of impacted them, changed them or whatever?
Well, he's a good player. Like, he's interchangeable. He can play a couple spots. He can shoot. Knows how to play. He's playing hurt too. You can definitely tell if you've seen him before. He's not moving as well. But it just kind of shows you, even when he did get hurt that Northwestern game, he got back in there. And, he's going to fight and try to win the game. And so just, tough kid. We played him when he was at Marquette, and can stretch the defense, is good around the basket. Gets 50-50 balls. Just one of those guys you'd like to have on your team.
Trey's had some success before against them, and I think they've been a little bit vulnerable to post scoring. What's he been doing lately, and what do you have to do, I guess, to get him involved? Do you feel like?
Yeah, just embracing, posting deeper. He has too many opportunities where he settles to get the ball too far away from the basket. When he posts deep and he goes right at people, he has more success. It's not 100% or anything, but just got to get him the details, whether it's playing post defense or posting up deep or just staying detail oriented, because when he does little things, the rest takes care of itself. He's a good player.
Is this almost kind of Jalen and Ethan's like December now because of what they missed early on? You feel like where they're kind of?
Yeah, I think so. Like other night for Ethan, that was a tough stretch for him. I wanted to get him in there with the guys that start the game for us. And I wanted to get him in there while they were small. And I didn't want him to go against Illinois' team if I was going to play him some as just another guard and play a 4-guard lineup with that. But we didn't have a lot of success in that stretch. And you'll see that sometimes when you're starting off a season or you're kind of experimenting with some things. And, you'll see some of that at the beginning of the year, and you're kind of finding things out. But, both of those guys have, Jaden's had more of an opportunity than Ethan. And, Jaden's just got to, find some consistency. And, obviously they both of them had tough games the other day. And, have to be able to go into the game, and then whatever you spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, or even longer, and then leave the game and you left it better than what you found it. And if you're leaving it worse and you do that 2 or 3 times in a game, that's a tough stretch of minutes for anybody. You have to be able to do things out on the court, to help your team. And some guys get more of an opportunity than others. It's, just the position that you get into, with your personnel.
I guess, was there any value this week in just having all practice? I know you have said before that it's really valuable to practice a number of times during the
Right.
season. You don't get that opportunity very often.
Yeah.
Was there anything you could do differently this week without that midweek game?
No, we actually took that day off. So, like, I think anytime, especially with the situation we're in the pandemic, if you get a day to get off, you have to, even though we got a stretch next week of time, that time's still important. Because now when we still go pretty long when we do practice. So when you have a time to give them off, I think it's necessary, even though we fouled it up and we weren't very good in practice yesterday. And so that's just kind of sometimes a byproduct of youth or maybe a byproduct of immaturity because we just, we weren't that good. And I think anytime you talk to coaches across the country, it's just a thing that you deal with when you give a day off. You've helped them physically by giving them a day off, but can you stay on edge? Can you be mentally ready after that day's off to practice? And we just weren't. And so hopefully today we can have a better practice to get ready for Michigan State.
I'm good. Thanks, Matt.
Yep. Carm.
Hey, Matt, just with Tuesday's game getting postponed with, issues with Nebraska, then Penn State going on pause for the next few days. I mean, do you reinforce the message that you've already been reinforcing with your team as far as taking care of business outside, sport, or do you feel like you've hit the message home pretty good?
You have, but it's one of those things that, you continue to harp on to continue to make good decisions. And I think we've done that. But it's unfortunate, the other day that, you don't get to play, but it's also something that, you knew was coming, at some point it's going to affect everybody. So yeah, just keep sending the same message and keep doing everything in your power, to help the team.
How do you, is it not easy, but how do you deal with an interruption like that? And you knew it was coming, but
yeah,
I guess
it's not our interruption. It was theirs. Right. And so it's different when it's affecting you and it's somebody else who's got to, have a pause and figure out what they're going to do. We're going to be able to push forward and then play our game on Friday. So, but we've learned a lot through other people's, even though we haven't been perfect. We've tried to gather other people's issues, whether that's, eating food on a bus or eating food on a plane. And that's ended up being, obviously, in football season, that affected a lot of people where they just wasn't very smart to let people do that. And then there's just, other issues in terms of going home. We just felt like as a program, that going home over the break wouldn't be a good idea. And I think you're starting to see some things with some programs out there that did do that. And I understand from a mental standpoint, they need that break. They need to go home. Everybody does. But now are you going to put yourself in a worse hole if you go and do that? So you're able to afford them the luxury of going home and seeing their family and being around their family. But now when they come back, now are you going to have those type of pauses or are you going to make that worse? And so it's already tough enough the way it is. So we've just tried to kind of learn through all that and learn through other people's mistakes, including our own, and just try to have as much common sense as possible and listen to our doctors and, all the people that are out there that are well-versed in this.
All righty. Thank you.
Yep. No problem. Is that it? Anything else?
I'm good.
Come on, noob. You normally have another one.
I got nothing for you.
Golly.
You can ask me a question if you want.
Ooh. Let me think here.